Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 236, recording on Sunday, June 8th, 2025. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And on this week's show, just an abundance of things to talk about. We had Summer Game Fest, State of Play, Xbox Showcase, Switch 2 launch. Sean and I both have played Switch 2. This is the biggest weekend in years, or week in years, and we just don't have enough time to talk about it all today. So
it's too bad they crammed everything, like a whole year's worth of news, into 1 week.
It is very sad because, I mean, we are starved for stuff at other times, but overwhelmed right now. Yeah. And so not going to talk about every showcase. We don't have enough time to do that. We will be doing our top 10 announcements of... I thought I came up with a terrible term last year for what this week can be called now, in lieu of E3, but it didn't stick because even I don't remember it. Yeah. Summer game season, something like that. But not going to talk Switch 2. Doubtful. That'll be saved for next week or a separate show that perhaps Sean and I will do at another time. We've got some very hot takes, controversial opinions, and... Right, Sean?
I mean, maybe.
But you'll have to stay tuned either for next week or another show. Get plugged into the feed on your podcasting app of choice and youtube.com/GameJunk. But now it's all about the summer game season. Let's do it. Top 10 announcements. We'll sprinkle in some commentary and thoughts. I have to say, probably the least excited I've ever been after 3 showcases, and not even the fact that things look bad. Just nothing really stood out to me. There's so many games now; they all look similar. Everything looks good. It's tough to really. I thought it was tough to see anything that stood out above anything else, or there wasn't 3 versions of the same thing. Unless there was an IP attached or something like that. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
I actually thought the 3 main showcases were some of the better ones we've seen recently. I mean, I was actually more disappointed with like the indie side of things, which is what I'm usually kind of excited about. So it's kind of reversed, but
yeah, I think any one of these showcases, if you like took it back in time and put it 4 years ago, I think would have been incredible. But, you know, even across 3 showcases, everyone had 3 different, as we've said before, third-person action games that are just a dime a dozen now. Hard for them to stand out. And a lot. I mean, the biggest thing I noticed is everything looks amazing, but not quite looking like gameplay most of the time, like canned gameplay with lighting. I'm not buying any of this shit is going to run this way on consoles. Everything I'm taking with a grain of salt, as I don't think I'm going to be playing this game or what they're telling me or to get excited for. So it's hard to like say, oh, I'm so excited for this game when I know it's not going to look anything like this when it ships. I don't see any gameplay that, as we've said in the past, how Sony showcases, I can see it is someone playing it and you can imagine yourself playing it. I couldn't imagine myself playing anything this year for the most part, except for some smaller games. Yeah, no?
I kind of disagree. I mean, okay. I'm looking at my list. There's definitely some stuff where I could tell it was gameplay. Maybe you were looking at the wrong games. You're too focused on those Neo-likes. Fill in your list.
I think the gameplay's cooked, bro. It's all exaggerated. Even the 2 at the top of my list. The 2 at the top of my list feel like they have unique mechanics. That's why they're the top of my list, or ideas that I haven't seen in a while, and polish level. But I'm still a little skeptical that will be the final game. So enough preamble.
I should say the 2 at the top of my list definitely had no gameplay. So
okay.
Well, that's the tricky thing, right? Is it's like, do you go for the excitement of a new announcement, but there's probably no gameplay, or do you go with something we've seen before, but now we've got gameplay and we have a better idea of what it is?
Yeah, and I will also say there are many games that didn't make my list. I think I would guess we have the most diversity of lists that we've ever had, where in the past we all have the same probably top 5 or they're interspersed somewhere in there. I think we're going to have the most stuff that isn't on each other's lists ever, that we've ever done lists for anything. And I'm curious because it wasn't like certain announcements were on every website. Oh my God, this game was announced and everyone's losing their shit. It was kind of sifting through videos and finding stuff that probably calls more to you in particular, or you took something out of it than a general news cycle dictating what the biggest announcements were. So I'm actually really curious to see, did some of these weird one-off games actually resonate with all three of us, having not communicated, talked about this in any way? I think it'll be an interesting exercise.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting to find out what's going to be on your guys' lists.
Like normally I would predict all your lists. I tried to predict one thing for Huck before the show and it's not even on his list. So
that's right.
Anything can happen. All right. You know what?
Exciting show.
I don't like the look on Sean's face. You can check it out on youtube.com. And just for that, he's going to go first. I want to know his number 10. And there's one game I know for sure is on Sean's list.
Yes,
and it might be number 10.
I think my list is kind of predictable. Although I will say there was a bunch of sequels to games I liked. For the most part, a lot of those are not on my list just because I was like, okay, I'll probably buy it. Looks good, but doesn't look any different from the previous game. So that's kind of how I was thinking about it. But my number 10, we talked about this a little bit last night, Frank. I don't know if this is, I have no idea what the world perception of this game is, but I went with Deadpool VR.
What?
Wow. Off the board.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people probably would say this is going to be a trash tie-in licensed game. But I was looking a little bit into like the developer, and they've done some good VR games. They actually did, I can't remember what the name of the developer is, but they had early Xbox Live Arcade games, a bunch of pretty good ones. Then they switched to like Kinect games. They did a couple Kinect games for Microsoft. And then they switched to VR. And
is it the one that did like Gunslinger? Okay. That makes sense.
And one of the VR games they did was like an early Oculus one that I've never played, but is very highly rated. A lot of people say it's like one of the better early VR games. So I don't know. And the fact that it's a Meta Quest exclusive, I'm thinking they're pouring lots of money into this. This is going to be like Batman Arkham level of quality. Maybe not. But anyway, it's a Deadpool VR game. It's a shooter. Looks pretty actiony. Obviously, there's a lot of comedic elements to it as well, it looks like. And voiced by NPH.
Sean's the biggest NPH fan. He never stops talking about him.
Mean, hey, NPH, yeah, I don't mind him, but I was kind of surprised at the how close it sounds. So.
Maybe it's because Kieran gives young Doogie Howser vibes. I don't know. There could be a connection there.
Maybe.
I will add, I embarrassingly went very quickly through the Summer Game Fest show, so I might have to admit some fault or skipping over something that potentially was incredible.
They missed a couple gems.
Sean, did you include announcements for hardware on your list?
I did not.
Okay.
There's only really one hardware announcement I can think of. So
I almost included one, and it's not the one you're thinking of. So
interesting.
I included one. Should I remove it?
No, not at all. I'm just curious.
Okay.
I was curious if the Xbox Ally would be somewhere on Sean's list, but it's not.
It's not.
All right, Huck, go ahead.
Okay, this one may have flown under your radar, Frank. Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. And this game was in Summer Game Fest, and it looks like an action RPG type game, kind of like maybe like a Secret of Mana style, isometric, top down. Yep. Yeah. And I like the cutscenes that they were showing. It looked like there was like interesting characters and creatures going on. I just thought it kind of tickled my fancy for like an action game. I'm not into the the kind of like Chinese lore, Neo-like games that are everywhere in these showcases. And this is, kind of like a simpler version of those games, I feel. These kind of like action RPGs, and I like these ones better. I don't even know if it's an RPG, actually. It might just be a straight action game.
Roguelike.
Action roguelike. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, I'm still 10, still keeping it there. Yeah, I like the art style. Thought the combat looked pretty neat.
I liked it. I liked that one. I thought it looked great. My reason for just kind of not disregarding it, but being less excited about it is art style wise, influence and enemy design. Although I loved the large scale enemies in this, perspective camera top down. I thought the visual influence was very similar to Kanutsugami, the kind of action strategy game that released last year. And I'm sure the gameplay is completely different, but I think it looks good. I will say.
I thought you were going to say Spiritfarer for like art style. I mean, it's not quite that level of polish. And I did think the gameplay looked slightly undercooked, but still interesting. Still caught my eye.
Yeah. I mean, there are tons of games, even though I wasn't excited about them, with more gameplay, a positive review. I could see tons of games emerging as actually being great. It wasn't like it was a bunch of showcases where I'm like, oh, this is a turd. It's like, that could be good. I'm just not that excited about it yet for whatever reason. There was always some reason. And I mean, I'm looking at a screenshot from Towa with an octopus creature on a boat that looks very cool. And I thought it looked great. Just it's more kind of, I didn't do a great job of articulating this, but everything is at such a high level of quality now that it's just tough to discern things or to pick things that's the thing I can't wait to play.
Yeah.
Anything,
especially when you're only seeing a minute.
Yeah.
A minute of gameplay or whatever, a minute of whatever they're showing you.
And in Xbox and Summer Game Fest specifically, as always, too much CG, too much just cinematic footage, not enough gameplay, and you get a couple flashes of stuff with overpowering effects and lighting, which look great, but it's just not enough to go on.
Yeah.
And so my list is definitely leaning to the personal side of things more than usual. Like, I was excited about this. It's probably not that big a deal, but I want it. Okay, my number 10 is a late edition, but I have to admit, there was a lot of cool visual ideas that probably aren't going to make it to final gameplay, but Atomic Heart 2, I thought looked really good in that was Summer Game Fest, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I mean, I didn't play the first one. I would like to go back and play it, actually. I think they eventually fixed all the trophies that were busted, and there was a bunch of issues at launch. I'd be curious to give it a shot, but I thought lots of unique designs, iterating on systems that seem to be more polished. And I can't remember, was Atomic Heart 1, was it on PS4 and PS5, or was it current gen exclusive? It might have been. I'm not 100%, but I thought it looked very, very cool, with the asterisk that it is. I don't think I was watching genuine gameplay.
Yeah, it did make me think. I wanted to go back and play the first one, which was on Game Pass. It is no longer there. So, but then they had a follow-up announcement for, what was it, like the Cube,
like an MMO game,
like that.
Cube,
that looked kind of cool too.
It looked interesting, but it did kind of make me think, okay, like and it's like in the same universe, seemed like almost like an MMO or something in the same universe.
Yeah.
And that made me think, okay, they are a little too, what's the word? Like they think this universe is amazing and everybody wants to play it. I don't know if that's the case, but the visuals look cool. I will say that.
Okay.
My number 9 is Romeo is a Dead Man. New announcement as far as I know.
I believe so. I mean, as soon as I saw 3 seconds on the Discord, I'm like, this has got to be Suda, who's
Very
obvious.
cool visual style. Now, I don't know, like it says he's executive director. I don't know how involved he actually is in this game, but I mean,
It's
his
Grasshopper,
studio.
and I mean they obviously have a history of games to pull an aesthetic from and to try to mimic. I don't know how much they even need him at this point, other than as like a moniker.
Yeah, but just crazy action game, very cool visual style. I wasn't clear. Like there's sort of an animated intro part. I don't know if that's going to be an element of gameplay or cutscenes or what that is. But yeah, I mean, I've never really fully gotten into any of his games. Maybe this will be the one. I say that.
I would go the opposite direction and say had some some interesting ideas, but I go back to I've never actually played through or cared about one of his games. Yeah. So why would this be the one I'm excited about? It's going to have to prove to me that I need to be excited about it at some point down the line. It's just that name obviously is recognizable, but doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
Yeah, I can see that point of view as well.
My number 9, I think it's probably on Sean's list, Scott Pilgrim EX, which is I guess, sequel to the original. Was it called Scott Pilgrim Saves the World? Was that the original one? It was called? That came out like 10 years ago.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game
versus the world,
maybe.
So it looks like it's like a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up game, probably with like little flashes of unique gameplay here and there. And I remember really enjoying the first game, and it's neat to see them revive it. Although I think the original was made by Ubisoft or some Ubisoft kind of like spin-off studio.
Just published.
It's the same
published.
I think it's the same developer. Yeah, I think just Ubi published it, I believe.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, this one
not 100% sure on that though.
Okay, this one looked really, really neat to me. I really enjoyed the first one, so it could be just a somewhat nostalgia play for this game, but I'll give it a try for sure after playing the first one. And it seems like these sort of like side-scrolling beat 'em up games are making a revival somehow, and they're pretty fun, the ones I've played. So I'm looking forward to this one.
I'm definitely hitting the point of being burnt out on them already, and it seems like every other week we're getting another retro franchise that's getting its own retro beat 'em up, and I'm just about done. I'll probably buy them all, but I'm just about done. So it's a winning monetary strategy, no doubt. My number 9 is probably something I'll never play, but I just thought it was a cool surprise announcement. I'll buy it, and it will get me excited about another hardware announcement that no one else seems to be excited about. Project Defiant, the PlayStation created arcade stick. I haven't talked about this, but every once in a while I get it in my head to buy an arcade stick, and I've been researching them and just can't find price point and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden the blue haze dissipates, and what emerges? Project Defiant, an exclusive Sony arcade stick.
How could you not?
Although I really don't get, like, where your hand goes is the white portion of the stick, where like your palm is down. That's going to get the dirtiest by far. I hate the aesthetic choice of the white and black personally, but the game, number 9 on my list, is Arc Systems Marvel Tōken Fighting Sons, which is a new team fighter.
Fighting Souls.
Souls. Sorry, my handwriting did not translate to my typing there. And I've never gotten into an Arc Systems game. I always liked the look of Guilty Gear, and there's just so many of those games. I like the idea it's a fresh start with a fighting game series that I just enjoy, that Marvel is opening up their license to different, weirder stuff, and they kind of let them put an entire new spin on Marvel. And I love how Marvel Rivals was allowed to do whatever art style they wanted, change the designs of characters, and then my favorite Marvel designs ever. I'm not a Marvel guy, but I'm blown away by the artwork there. So I thought effects wise, IP wise, I thought this was a very cool surprise announcement that I don't think has been even alluded to, leaked. It came out of nowhere, albeit a little too much time spent on it in the state of play. I didn't necessarily need the deep dive with every producer celebrating themselves that we were so brave to make this game, but it looks good. It was an exciting announcement that no one saw coming.
Yeah, it looks cool. I don't know. Like, it's weird. I was looking through the Arc gamography and I'm like, have I even played any of these games? Like, there's titles that I've heard a million times and don't know anything about. So
now I want to say one more thing. Please design this game. If it's like PlayStation published, I'm pretty sure. Let's make it a 4-button fighter. I don't need my 6 buttons and button combinations on my triggers and bumpers and all this stuff. Let's design it to work with 4 buttons and not, work within the parameters of the PlayStation controller. And I think that would be a huge win, personally.
Okay.
All right, Sean, number 8.
My number 8 is Keeper.
I knew it. I could remember Faceball. I knew you were going to say Keeper.
Yes. So this is this was at the Xbox showcase. This is a Double Fine game. Now the weird thing is, I kind of zoned out somewhere where they were setting up the trailer, so I actually didn't even know it was a Double Fine game. I was just like, that looked really cool. I'm making my list. I'm reading up on some of them, and it was like, oh, Double Fine. Okay, I guess that gets a little bump. But I mean, I don't really know what the gameplay is. It seems like a puzzle platformer potentially, where you're controlling this weird lighthouse and you can shine light on stuff. But visually, it looked pretty interesting, and I don't know. I was definitely curious. Yeah,
the effects in particular looked so good that I was questioning whether they will be in the final game or not. But I agree. Visually, very impressive.
This guy, such a Debbie Downer today.
Yep.
Every day.
My number 8. My number 8. Super Meat Boy 3D. Had this game been announced before?
No.
Okay. I mean, Super Meat Boy was a huge game when I first started in the industry, and it was part of that whole initial Xbox arcade run, along with like Braid and a few other games in there that really like just exploded onto the scene of small teams making games. And Team Meat, or whoever's making this, has been pretty quiet, or at least Team Meat has. So it's kind of neat to see them come back. I don't know if it's them or not, but the IP at least, with a 3D version. And it looked pretty, like a pretty good art conversion from the 2D hand-drawn style of the original into this new 3D version. And the puzzles looked very challenging and very Super Meat Boy-esque. And I don't know, I thought it looked pretty fun to play, and I'm interested to see how they translate the 2D platforming into a 3D space, and if it can not be too difficult.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. I am excited for this. I didn't get into the last Super Meat Boy game that launched on Epic. I think I bought it. I don't remember what it was called even.
Oh, I didn't even know there was one.
Forever? Super Meat Boy Forever?
Yeah,
Forever.
That's
right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it looked great as well, and it seemed to capture some of the charm and aspects of the original in a 3D form. So yeah, I thought it looked good. My number 8 is Keeper.
Nice.
I agree. It looks amazing. Sean did not touch on the bird, which looked incredible when perched upon the lighthouse. I mean, this just gave me stacking vibes, where I feel like Double Fine hasn't done anything all that interesting in a long time.
No,
including the extremely, disgustingly overrated Psychonauts 2. And
they've done anything since Psychonauts 2 is question.
And I'm saying people would point to that, and I would point and say, yeah, that game actually wasn't that good. And they're due for something. I don't know what they've been up to, but I hope this is it, because visually looks incredible. Just something different, memorable, which was hard to come by this summer game season. So looking forward to Keeper.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else they've announced or have been working on that we know about. So potentially this is...
I would like to know the numbers and size of employees at that studio over the last few years.
Yeah, it's a good question. That was one of the... I saw some people complaining because you know how at the beginning of Summer Game Fest, Keeley was going off about how, you know, the small games are just, they're up there with the big blockbusters and small teams. But a lot of people were calling out that, you know, Clair Obscur is not really made by a small team. And like, you know, there's just the sense of what's indie and what's a, you know, small team is changing.
All he did was post the top 10 highest grossing games on Steam. It wasn't, he just pointed out, I had never heard of this Repo game. I had no idea it was the top selling game. And he just said it was nice to see that small games are competing with huge games that were up on the screen as well. So I agree with him. I mean, he's a bit of a, like, gets a little precious, but I don't think he did anything wrong there. We know what Clair Obscur is. It's a team of about 30 people.
Well, the articles I was seeing, people are like, it was way more than 30 people. But
I mean, gotta be honest, doesn't show. I would say 30 people.
It's yeah. I think part of the debate was like teams that bring on contractors, that usually never gets counted, but there's usually a lot of them. So
yeah, 100%. That's true for every game ever in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Okay, my number 7, Scott Pilgrim X or EX, however you pronounce it. I mean, it looks like more of the same. They did kind of hint at more of like an open world element, and maybe that's just like them drawing more from River City Ransom, which was already a huge influence on the first game. But I don't know. I'm excited to revisit that and see what they come up with. And I was surprised. We did talk about this at some point a while back in terms of like the retro beat 'em ups, and this series came up, and it did seem weird that they hadn't done another one. So there you go.
All right, Huck.
My number 7 is the hardware entry of the Xbox ROG Ally X. And I do not have a Steam Deck yet. And so this, and I've been debating, you know, do I just get this ROG Ally thing, like the original, the OG? Do I go with the Steam Deck? And then this thing comes around, and it's looking like a great option to install Game Pass games natively, it was saying. So they'll run better than just cloud streaming. And then also have the ability to run, it sounded like Steam and Epic and GOG Galaxy or whatever else. Seems like a perfect solution to my problem. And I'm sure there are ways. I mean, Dwight, you could tell me. I think you could probably jailbreak the Steam Deck to play the Game Pass games and to run like an OS. I think you could do that, right? So, but
yeah,
this seems like
Windows on it.
Yeah. So this seems like a good alternative to that, to not having to deal with any of that hacker mumbo jumbo that you deal with. You know, well, I just get to be
it's just a ROG Ally, right? Just with Xbox buttons.
That's my question. Like, I know they were working on sort of like an interface or something that kind of makes your Xbox library like instantly accessible and easier to find. I don't know if that's the only difference. Like, because I'm pretty sure, you know, the regular ROG Ally, you can install Windows. I think it comes with Windows. Like, it's kind of doing the same thing. So I don't know what the price difference is.
Yeah, I was trying to look for the prices. I couldn't find any prices yet. It doesn't sound like they've announced. But I'm going to keep an eye on this as the solution, or the possible solution, for my handheld gaming needs for my Steam library and Xbox Game Pass. But, you know, we'll see what happens. It piqued my interest a bit just in the fact that I don't have to do any shady backdoor shit like Sean does, where he like goes to the dark web and gets the Windows installer.
Sean doesn't have to do that either. He brings that on himself by trying to do stuff he's not supposed to do to begin with.
It's a PC. There's nothing shady about what I'm doing. So.
Okay. My number 7 is the debut of a new game from Thunder Lotus, one of my favorite indie developers, At Fate's End, which seems to be them returning to more of a side-scrolling, action-based game. A little unclear as to whether or not it's a Metroid-like or not. Definitely combat-focused, but has some type of card-playing element. The thing that stood out to me was the storytelling engine, mid-battle, and making choices and how it seemed to integrate economies of cards. I got mild vibes of, I can't think of it right now, the title, counting on Huck here. What was the adventure game that had a tree where you would investigate and get words and choices you could make and then revisit branches of the tree? It had the anthropomorphic animals that it was a mystery. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Frog Detective?
No. It was and you could go back and redo choices if you had found a different verb or adjective in the tree. Purple key art with animals. Oh my God. I thought you guys would know for sure.
Night in the Woods?
No, adventure game. I'll look it up in a second. But I thought it stood out to me, this idea of probably mid-combat, cinematically making story choices. I think it's a long ways off. It doesn't really have a release date, but it had some new ideas that I thought could be interesting. And I love their animation and style, although I haven't really tried 33 Immortals yet. And I'm kind of glad to see them returning to some single player, more traditional stuff that they usually do. So I thought it stood out to me.
Beacon Pines?
You got it. Beacon Pines. Thank you, Sean.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I remember that game kind of vaguely.
Yeah, I thought the game looked cool as well. Not on my list, but it looked cool. My number 6. Is that right?
Yep.
Super Meat Boy 3D. I already kind of covered it, but yeah, I mean, I hope it's a little more of a return to form. I liked Super Meat Boy forever. I played a bit of it, but it was actually kind of, I think, initially developed for like mobile or something. I seem to remember it being like one button, like gameplay or something. It was really weird. And then they had like a puzzle game that came out a year or two ago, like Dr. Fetus's Mean Machine or something. So they've done some stuff with the IP, but this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the main designer was also working on some like cat game or something. Does that ring a bell? Like,
I'm not sure.
I want to say meow something, but that would be too obvious and too easy. Yeah. Okay. Are you done with the Meat Boy? Should I go to mine? Okay. Yep. My number 6 is a game called End of Abyss, which looked to be sort of like Stranger Things meets a twin stick shooter in this like very almost like Inside vibes as well, with some of the like weird enemies you're facing.
Little nightmares, but more adult vibe I got as
Possibly.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the gameplay they showed was, pretty straightforward, pretty, just a twin stick shooter fighting some guys. It also looked like though they were doing some camera adjustments where sometimes the camera would be sort of like right behind the character. Other times it would be tilted up a little bit more in combat. So I'm not sure if there is different camera angles and they play with camera angles to give you sort of a better viewpoint of the action or what exactly they're doing. But I like the vibe of the game. It definitely was a little creepy, and it almost looked like it seemed like you're playing in corridors, but I got the vibe that you're kind of like vignetted around where you are. Like there's almost like this haze, this like black haze around you. So I don't know. It just had a neat vibe to the game that I was kind of digging. Kind of reminded me of that game I really liked called Signalis.
Yeah, I got that vibe too.
And yeah, so I mean, the gameplay they showed looked pretty straightforward. I don't know if it'll be engaging for a whole length of a game, but I really like the atmosphere of this trailer, and what they showed had potential.
I agree. My number 6 is Onimusha, Way of the Sword, which we've seen before. There was between this, if I had to pick the 3D action games that stood out to me, there was an Xbox one that all of a sudden my link is gone for. Where is it? Beast of Reincarnation. I thought looked pretty cool in the Xbox showcase. And I just thought Onimusha got a little more gameplay, and I thought the lighting engine looked ridiculous, and how that game incorporates these atmospheric souls that you absorb. I think with those having lighting elements on them could lead to some really cool combinations and visuals in real time. So it's the third person action game I'm most excited for coming to the show.
This one was one of my late cuts of final one to not make the top 10. But did they ever, in the games they've remastered, did they just do 1 and 2? They haven't done 4 yet, right?
It's only 1 and 2. 2 just came out.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Is there a 4? I don't remember a 4.
Yeah, isn't 4 the one with Jean Reno?
No, that's 3. I'm pretty sure.
3? Oh, okay. Maybe this is 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I know there was another offshoot one too, and some other, I think, top-down ones. So I'm not that well versed.
Yeah, this one looked good though. I also liked it.
All right, Sean.
Okay, number 5, Felt That Boxing. The
Felt
Muppet
That.
boxing
Came up last
game.
night in our little gaming session.
Not Jim Henson related.
I will refuse to use the word Muppet here. Jay used it last night. I think it's been used in articles. These are not official Muppets. These are ripoffs of Jim Henson's Muppets.
I mean, Polygon says Punch Out meets Crank Yankers. Does that work any better for you?
I will not accept that either, but it's closer to what I would accept in terms of the expectation of quality and character design.
Yeah, so this was just, definitely one of the more standout trailers for sure. In terms of what the game actually is, still not 100% sure, but it does look very Punch-Out inspired, and it's obviously got a sense of humor, and I mean, it's just such a weird concept that I got to know what this is going to be.
Yeah, I thought I've been curious for a new Punch-Out game for a long time, and why no one just takes that genre to some degree. So I was happy to see that. The gameplay footage there was very little of it, but it looked too good to be true, in my opinion. It felt very cinematic. I think this game is at least 2 years out.
So you mentioned the Punch-Out thing. I literally just saw a game this past week that came out, an indie game called Leftovers KO. And it's basically Punch-Out and you're fighting food in your refrigerator.
Okay.
But it looks intriguing.
This is like it can trace a lineage here to some degree. Cuphead, which is like, this will stand out. Now we just want to get enough eyes on it to get enough money to finish it and turn it into a full game. And I get most PI vibes did a very similar thing. And this is the new version of that. I don't think anything. I think there's probably, 10 minutes of gameplay in this game right now, and a lot of pre-rendered stuff. And they are trying to get money to finish this game to be fair, on the strength of a very cool idea and trailer and showing it this. So I think they'll be successful doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, this is also my number 5 sitting at this spot. So I will say that I also was very intrigued by the art style, and it was a little hard to tell. I mean, at times I was second guessing if that is actually gameplay or if it is real characters that resemble Muppets that they're actually just puppeting and taking a video of, especially when he's talking with the, what's the like Rocky's trainer guy, the old man's name? Guy. His equivalent in Muppet form. And I'm like, this can't be in the game. There's no way this is like gameplay, in-game footage. There's no way. It has to be real. But then they would go to what to me looked like real gameplay in the ring, and that like the fur shader they're using looked very similar to like a real, puppet you would see. I thought it looked really incredible. So I have high hopes for this game. I don't know how they're doing it. I didn't relook at the trailer to see if there was any kind of like idea of what engine they're using, but it is really hard to do hair and fur like that looks that good and have really anything else on screen. So that's why you see basically in the boxing matches, and even, I don't know if you saw the ropes behind the guys, they're flapping all over the place and like physics driven kind of, not cloth, but like rope physics kind of thing. And I mean, it was basically the two characters and those ropes, and that's it. There's no audience. There's nothing else behind them. And I have a feeling that's probably all they could fit on screen to make it run at a reasonable speed.
It's interesting because you're talking about the tech and stuff, and it made me think, not that long ago, Fight Night was like a huge showcase for tech stuff. And maybe this is the next iteration.
Of course. Definitely.
I will say this is not on my list. I get nothing but smoke and mirrors vibes. Could be amazing.
So I just put it on again, and right at the beginning in the bottom left corner, it says in-engine footage.
Yeah, in engine. Pixar movies are rendered in an engine. Like that means nothing.
Fair enough. That's true. I'm just going to try to...
My number 5, probably too high on my list if I'm being honest, but it stood out to me. The only 2 games that really are above the rest are my 1 and 2. Everything else is somewhat interchangeable. Mortal Shell 2. I did not play the original Mortal Shell. Now, it's on sale right now. Not that I'm necessarily going to play it, but I think this game showed pretty well at Summer Game Fest. It's on sale for $1.64 Canadian on Steam right now. So
price is right there.
Mixed reviews, but like bears no visual resemblance to the one we saw at Summer Game Fest. This is leaning into mildly Giger-esque and grotesque body horror designs, and I thought it had tons of another similar game like this. This is where all these games, there's so many similar things. Ill was a first-person game that also had similar vibes, but I thought the enemy designs and the animations, I'm not big on kill shot animations and cinematic deaths, but I thought they looked really good here and interesting and unlike things I've seen before. And it stood out to me, especially having absolutely zero affinity for the first, for a sequel to stand out and at least make an attempt to differentiate itself and do something new. I thought it succeeded in that. So I was kind of hyped for this franchise that has literally never been on my radar before. So I thought it was a very good showing.
Just FYI, I think Mortal Shell was a PS Plus game at one point because it is in my PSN library.
Okay.
So you might have it as well.
I hope it's in mine as well.
You got to buy that shit. Come on. Don't look at their library. Just buy. $1.
He already has it. It's in his library.
Oh, I thought you said it was on Steam. I thought you said it was for sale.
I was saying it's on Steam for $1. He's saying it's also, I probably have it already. I don't need to buy it.
No,
and he'd much rather play it on PS5.
Create a new account, buy it again.
No. I mean, you can buy PlayStation Plus games if you want, even if you own them via previous monthly free games.
So,
okay.
Before we move on, I need to go back. So, the Felt That Boxing studio, I just was doing some research. The guys that founded that studio created had a company before this that created the tool called Substance, which you guys may not know, but it's a very
Substance.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like a very popular tool that's used, that's now owned by Adobe.
Yeah.
And these guys specialize in real-time character animation. So these guys sound like real legit guys that could probably make this game.
No, they sound like real legit guys that could make character animations that are not a game.
Well, I mean,
look like it could be a game.
That's why this game is so limited to just the characters right now.
Yeah. This is just a cash grab. I hope it actually turns out. If it turns out to be what this looks like, I would be very excited. I'm not buying
it. Not sold. Okay, I tried to sell you.
I clearly they are very, very good at tech and animation. I would never disregard that whatsoever. I'm actually surprised after all the dust settled. I was wondering how that the developer that created Kenna Bridge of Spirits, who is like also like top level tech talent, have not announced the follow up to my knowledge, unless I forgot about it.
I don't think so. No,
I thought that was going to be coming at one of these. They're an announcement for their next game, whether it's a sequel or something else. Okay, sorry, Sean. Number 4.
Number 4. So there was a couple new Lego games announced. Not your usual Lego games, I would say. The one that really stood out to me was Lego Voyagers, co-op puzzle platformer type thing, but you're not controlling like a minifig, you're actually controlling a block. And it seems like you kind of roll around and attach yourself to things and build stuff out. I don't know exactly how it works, but it looked pretty cool. So definitely up my alley.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly the same, but capturing a bit of Unraveled and some of those other co-op puzzle games. I agree. It stood out. It looked decent for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of the late cuts for me as well. My number 4 is on your lists already. My bump was obviously higher than yours, and it's Keeper, sitting at number 4. And I thought the art style was really great. As soon as I saw that bird put the life-preserving ring onto the lighthouse as like a joke, like, oh, if you go in the water, you'll need this, I was sold on this game. And I'm with you guys. I don't really know what the gameplay is of this. It looks like some sort of exploration thing with the light, having some mechanic tied into it, but very unclear as to what this game is. But I have hopes that Double Fine makes a return. I don't know how long ago Psychonauts 2 was, but it feels like a long time ago to me. So hopefully this is a return to form for Double Fine and like their kind of quirky style that still has some interesting game mechanics, like you're saying, Frank, with stacking. And there was one other game they made kind of around the time of stacking that was really awesome. Oh, I guess Costume Quest was incredible.
That's what we need. That should have been on your junk mail question last year or last week. Quest 3. That would be.
Did I even mention Cat Quest 4? I should have just said that. I mean, that should have been on there too.
I got the vibe, and it is listed as the primary keyword, although it's probably alphabetic on Steam. But it feels like a modern adventure game to me, Keeper, which I believe is what it is. So,
okay, yeah,
some puzzle and story elements. I'm pumped.
Yeah.
My number 4 has been mentioned. End of Abyss. I thought the top-down shooting mechanics felt very weighty and chunky, and felt like I could get a vibe of gameplay. I like the atmosphere. I mean, across the board, lighting is at another level these days, and I thought it had great lighting as well. And I'm kind of in the mood for a good top-down shooting game. I miss the old Dead Nation days and other games like that, twin stick, and this one had me excited. And it's not on Steam yet. I don't know why. It feels like it's everything else we're mentioning is listed and this one's not. So makes me a little trepidatious to some degree, but look good. All right, Sean, number 3.
Number 3. this was one of the bigger ones. Resident Evil Requiem, which, I mean, you could question how much gameplay is actually shown here. But I think I liked how they did it. I don't know if you guys, I know you guys were more skimming and jumping around some of the stuff, but with the announcement at Summer Game Fest, in the middle of the show, they had sort of a, is it 20th anniversary?
Well, 30th. There was
30th.
Before that. Well, yeah, I guess there was an ad for a sale that the Capcom's and the motion capture performer for Resident Evil Village. Then they came back again later, and it was the lead designer celebrating 30 years. And we're hoping to have something to share with you soon. And then,
yeah, and so it seemed like, okay, there's not going to be a trailer. And then at the very end, there was a trailer. So that was pretty cool. But
which, I mean, if you watched it later, it was a complete dud of announcements, but could have been exciting watching it live. Yeah. I thought it was to tease what they actually revealed was a complete dud.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I thought
that was great.
So disappointed that closed the show.
Oh, really? I thought they had you all pumped, like something's going to announce, and they're like, we'll show it to you in the near future, or whatever they said. And then you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll have to wait. And then, bam. I
mean, the only thing that's interesting about what they showed is you're going back to Resident Evil 2, but the aesthetic of like the RE9, like I thought it was gross. I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was a huge step down from 7 and especially 8. 8 was one of the best ever in the series. And this feels like a step down so far, but we know nothing. Go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot to go on. It is more just new Resident Evil. I think they said February 2026, which is not that far off. So that's kind of
the title, Sean?
Resident Evil Requiem?
Yeah, okay. I don't know if we had said it yet.
Oh, yeah, you said it right away.
Okay.
But I do like the little, how they use the number in the title in clever ways now. That's becoming their thing. I kind of like that.
That was the weakest, turning Q's into 9s. Like the Roman numeral 8 was embedded in the word village. Like that was good. This also is one of the worst examples of that ever. And aesthetically gross. I mean, I'm going to buy it. I'm excited, but not a lot to go on. I'm excited that it comes out so soon. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My, number 3 after Frank's glowing commentary there is also Resident Evil Requiem. And I actually was kind of pumped before I knew. I was more pumped, I think, before I knew it was Resident Evil, when they were doing the whole FBI kind of like investigation lead in the beginning. I was like, oh, is this some sort of game like Control almost, where there's some weird story elements going on? And I believe they did mention, they're kind of taking a turn for a Resident Evil game. So my hopes is almost that they make more of a turn more towards like a story driven atmospheric game than like a pure kind of like horror game. Although I haven't played Village or whatever the one after that is. 8? Yeah, Village was 7. Village was 8. Village was 7.
8. 7
Village was 8. Whatever was 7.
Biohazard.
Didn't play that one. So I don't know. I thought the trailer was pretty atmospheric, and this whole thing where they kind of tie in. So how does it tie into 2? I never played 2, so I don't know what that tie-in is.
It just feels like the police station is now like this condemned area, and it's.
Oh, I thought they said they were turning to a hotel where the mother was killed.
Well, I think that's part of the story where the lead investigator has to go back, but then it cut back to the police station, and like the roof's been exposed, and
okay, I must have missed that.
The statue's broken, and Keeley did a good job of like saying he was impressed by the scope, probably knowing the scope we're about to see is nothing. So it's fine, but it was definitely a wet noodle for me.
All right.
And I hated the aesthetics of it. But I will say the RE engine looks very good.
Well, as people who voted for Control Game of the Year, I thought it looked great. And very Control-esque.
My number 3 is Into the Unwell, which was one of the last things in Summer Game Fest. Now, admittedly, has some mouse PI. Speaking of which, you were always excited for mouse PI, Huck, and then your favorite voice actor got announced as
I saw that.
Character. I wonder if that affected you. But this one felt like kind of a slightly more grotesque take on some of these ideas and leaning into art aesthetics that I thought were interesting and darker and a different camera perspective. And I thought it did a really good job of capturing an animated world in a 3D rendered setting without just relying on sprite-based artwork. And I thought it looked very cool and felt like a game. One of the few things I watched where I saw gameplay. It wasn't revolutionary by any means, but at least they were focusing on it, and I wasn't guessing as to what this game was. And I'm in. No launch date. It's coming to early access. If I had known all this stuff before making my list, probably would have bumped it down a bit. It's a roguelike. It's going down. But
that was the thing that I was a little less interested in when I saw it was a roguelike. But
my 3 through 10, as I mentioned, are pretty interchangeable, and this holds up. All right, let's get to the top two.
Well, I had, just to go on Into the Unwell, I had this on my list, and then I rewatched the footage, and I agree the art style looks really good, and how they capture almost like that, almost like a Roger Rabbit or Cuphead even, kind of like art style of the enemies and your character. But then I was looking more closely at the gameplay, and it looked very sluggish to me. The main character moved very slowly, almost painfully slowly, in my opinion. And the gameplay itself didn't really wow me. I actually had it up around 6 or 7, and it fell right off the list for me. So I don't know if this game is going to be that good when it comes out. I don't have high hopes for it anymore. And now that I found out it was a roguelike from you guys, even less so. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean, number 2. Let's see where 007 lands.
Number 2 is Blighted. We are drink box heads here. And this one looked to me like it's taking the sort of top-down isometric style of Nobody Saves the World, but it is a Metroidvania, so kind of bringing some of the guacamole in there. Still has kind of the drink box art style, I would say, but just looks very another layer of polish again on top of everything they've done. And I'm intrigued. I guess the one thing is apparently it Souls-like. But then they also did mention that there's like this dynamic difficulty level thing, which is, maybe made for somebody like me. I don't know. We'll see.
Could be. Yeah, I'm excited for it for sure. Didn't make my list.
Didn't?
No, it did not. I think I'm not 100% sold on the art style yet, although I do think it looks good. And it's kind of the same issue Huck had with Into the Unwell. I'm obviously very excited for it, but I just thought the pace looked a little slow to me. And it was close. It was probably my 11th on my list or around there. And I don't want people to think we're like completely biased towards drink box. So I gotta, wow me. I'll play it. Don't worry. I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, well, I'll add the drink box in. It was my number 2 as well. A lot of definitely just knowing the pedigree of them. And I also wasn't blown away by the gameplay that they showed, but knowing how they construct worlds and the Metroidvania aspect of it, they're so good at making Metroidvania games and just constructing the world and how you explore and return to different areas. I think it's going to be a great game. So it gets the drink box bump for sure in my list.
All righty. No release date, right? It's 2026 sometime.
I believe so. Yeah.
It looks really good. I mean, some of the smoke in between the stages and stuff looks great. It's like I said, it was a very close cut for me. And my number 2 was Clockwerk Revolution from the Xbox showcase. And I can't remember if we've heard of this game before. I feel like there's so many.
It was definitely announced previously, and I think there was like a teaser. And this one, it's probably would have like been pretty high on my list, but it kind of just was like, okay, I think it's kind of a known quantity, so I'm going to cut it. But I also thought that trailer was very amazing.
It seems the most ambitious out of any game I saw the entire showcase, and its ambition stood out to me, having interesting shooting mechanics, and the like storytelling engine seemed really cool, and character design. And I'm not convinced as to whether or not the time altering mechanic will work in practice, but it's intriguing. And they showed some examples of it. I can't think of a game that's really done that well, including Tears of the Kingdom, and really incorporating changing time, real time with elements in the level. So if they pull that off, that will be a first that I can think of. And the thing that put me over the top, the gun creation, which was like this kind of blueprint, almost 3D printing aspect, and then it molded over top of it to make a final weapon for doing weapon mods and all these things. This falls under the category of I'll believe it when I see it and when it ships, but it felt the most ambitious out of any game I saw the whole time, and kind of unique, aside from giving me why can't I think of Dishonored developer Arcane vibes. And I was like, is this new Dishonored at first or something like that? But I'm not a huge steampunk guy. If it was a different overall aesthetic, it would be my number one for sure. But definitely a game that was not anywhere near my radar, and I'm very interested to see where it goes now.
Yeah, it's not on my list either. I got the steam. I'm also not really into steampunk, and when they were doing the like character intro kind of things at the beginning, I was getting major like Borderlands, like over the top vibes that I wasn't really feeling in this case. So, there was some humor there, but it didn't feel like it landed with me as much as maybe they hoped it would. And so I was kind of turned off a bit by those two things.
All right.
Sean. It is developed by In Exile Entertainment, who did Wasteland 3 previously, Bard's Tale, some other stuff. But
not necessarily selling me anymore, but
yeah, I think they did a lot of like those top-down like action RPGs, like kind of like Baldur's Gate. I can't remember what they're called though. Did they do Winter Nights, whatever that was called?
No.
Winter Nights.
They have the Mage's Tale, Torment, Tides of.
Oh, that's the game I'm thinking.
Numenera.
Torment. Yeah, that's the game I'm thinking of. Yeah,
but yeah, it would definitely be an honorable mention for me. My number one, 007 First Light. That being said, the one thing that really turned me off in the trailer, and I hadn't even really thought about this, is just the fact that it's not using any existing Bond likeness. So they came up with their own look for the character, and they're going with a younger Bond. Something about the look of that character I didn't love. It was almost like a James Bond Jr. kind of feel or something. But
Sean, I didn't notice this until now. Someone needs to do a Photoshop. You put a bald cap on this guy. He looks a lot like you, bud. You are Bond.
Maybe that's why I don't like him.
You get a little hairpiece going on and pop your collar. You could be the new Bond.
Yeah, maybe. But I do like that they seem to be going almost a bit of an Uncharted adventure-esque direction.
Just a little bit.
Well, I mean, it looks like that.
You blurred your eyes. You think you were watching the trailer for Uncharted 4 intercut with James Bond stuff. It's almost identical.
Yeah, but from stuff that they've said in interviews and stuff, is they are really kind of talking that back a bit. Like, I think that's the flashy trailer to get the general audience interested, but they keep saying no. It's also about what our studio does best, which is Hitman, obviously. So I'm just very curious and excited for what this could be. I don't know if the trailer totally blew me away, but I am.
It's your number one most anticipated and best announcement from the showcases. And I mean, obviously the game director said, take Uncharted 4 and make it James Bond. It's the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my life.
Have we not had it already?
Like
bizarre.
And I mean, that could be a very good thing. It could, I've could use a new Uncharted game or something like that, but I'm excited for it, but it definitely wasn't like wow, I can't believe this trailer. It is what it is, and it could be great.
Well, I'm going to disagree strongly. I thought it looked incredible. It's my number one. I thought having James Bond be in like a action, set piece style game in the vein of Uncharted is going to be awesome. Now, if they kind of go more Hitman and this whole like approach it in a million different ways, I'll be very turned off. But if they make it more of, here's a really complex scene with lots of stuff going on, and you have to accomplish your mission, almost like if you think back to like GoldenEye, where you had like multiple objectives and you had to just figure out where those objectives are, and more of not, I need to kill this guy 100 different ways or whatever. It's more of, who do I need to identify to actually find this thing I need to get or whatever, or pick a pocket and find out who that is. If it's more of that aspect, then I think it'll be okay. But if it's more like I'm going to sneak around and, do all this stealth stuff, I don't think it'll be that fun. But yet to be seen. I mean, I think this game's been in development for a while. I think it's been under lock and key for a few years at least. So now we're getting to see it. I thought it looked pretty good. I thought the trailer looked pretty good. It kind of, teased that there's car racing, boat racing, or chases, I guess. Car chases, boat chases. So very like Uncharted-esque kind of like moments like that. So I'm pretty excited for it. They showed like different areas. It's not just going to be all kind of like one spot in a map. I just hope they don't go like open world, some sort of like open world thing. That would be a big disappointment.
Yeah, I don't think I kind of think Uncharted 4 visually looks better than this game, and I'm not buying any of the gameplay. All seems cooked. Lighting is way over the top, and I don't think it's going to look anything like this. And I think it's a bit of smoke and mirrors on this thing, but I'm still
all right, Debbie, get to your number one already.
Believe me, people are not going to be happy with my number one.
No, we're not.
This thing's coming out of nowhere.
Turd alert.
You think you know what my number one is?
Yeah.
I don't think you could guess my number one in it if I gave you 20 guesses.
Okay, maybe not.
Out of words.
I'll give you 3.
Okay, I'll take 1. Black Ops 7.
Oh God, no, absolutely not.
Okay.
Any other guesses? I don't think I've heard another person talk about this game or say it looked good from the PlayStation State of Play showcase. And it's not Hot Shots Golf, although I did consider it.
I don't know. There's a bunch of games in there that I thought looked cool that I honestly don't even remember what they're called now. So it could be one of those, maybe.
My number one is Sea of Remnants. This is another very ambitious game that it starts off with this weird, I was so out to start, and it's like this weird puppet creature, formless puppet creature getting put inside a cannon and getting shot out of it. And all of a sudden, this puppet is like the facial animation and expressions on this figure. I'm like, this is next level. This is Astrobot Team Asobi type stuff in terms of polish and character animation. And like, where's this going? I'm not a huge Sea of Thieves fan. And like, I want to see what this is. And then it just had more and more stuff. It has, it showed some third person combat, which I thought looked just as good as any other third person action game I saw. Then it has a whole naval battle sequence with this huge crab boss. And I'm like, why haven't more games done the arcadey battles of Black Flag since Black Flag, which were tons of fun? So I'm like, okay, you got me at that as well. Then there's a sequence where this character hops into a cannon and gets shots out and then is gliding through these fireworks that, like, the lighting and effects looked incredible.
I just figured out why you like this game.
Why?
This giant crab creature.
It's part of it. I just thought the color, the polish, I'm so surprised more people have not mentioned this game. The facial expressions of the characters in this blew my mind. And it does seem like perhaps too ambitious, but color palette, so colorful. There's like RPG elements. There's like these turn-based sections. I don't know what it is, but everything I saw and it intrigued me. And I just hope it's not like it's a turn-based RPG. So open world, yeah. As long as it's not an MMO or some bullshit online game.
I was just going to say it's published by NetEase.
Yes.
And looks like the studio is a mobile game studio mostly.
This thing does not look mobile.
I agree. I do remember the crab creature and it did look pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of a weird one.
I did not think this was a turn-based game.
There's like an attack where a wave takes out people and there's like damage numbers and all this stuff, but there's clearly something comparable to stealth or third-person combat with the one character earlier in the video. So I don't know. I'm surprised it's not getting more attention, to be honest, because I was thoroughly impressed. And it's the one game that I was like, it took me on a journey where I was like, oh, what's this next Zenless Zone Zero garbage I'm looking at there? And by the end, I'm like, I'm in. I'm 100% in. So, yeah. The biggest criticism by far of this game is the word "of" is like a cutlass that doesn't even look like the word "of." Or is like, is this Sea Sword Remnants? Sea of Remnants.
Yeah.
This is a terrible logo. Brutal.
I mean, it's cool except for the cutlass.
Some other, I will say, this game's coming out in 3 months, but if I had to say the one game I'm the most excited to play after all of these things, it's Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I thought the gameplay it was showed in the state of play, or I think it was state of play, looked amazing. I cannot wait to play that game.
I was debating putting that on as well.
It's so soon, and I'm excited for the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection and just having arcade perfect versions of all the original Mortal Kombats on console. And the biggest highlight of the whole thing for me was Ozempic Phil. He's back, baby. No gamer t-shirts. He's wearing a sleek black shirt showing off that Ozempic bod, ready to go, ready to bring gaming to the masses all across the globe. And yeah, looking sharp, Phil. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm impressed. Our lists are quite different.
So I have like a bunch of other, like, I don't know, there's some major announcements we haven't talked about, and then there's like just a bunch of, I guess, honorable mentions for me. I don't know do you guys have any other honorable mentions?
No.
One game that stood out for me, just art style wise, was Out of Words, which was also a similar sort of like stop motion. Reminded me of that Harold Halibut game, but also a bit of this like Sea of Remnants. They almost look wooden, but the gameplay reminded me of like Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, it reminded
me of some of the platforming stuff, or sorry, side-scrolling stuff in Split Fiction.
Yeah, so I don't know. It didn't look great, but the art style was very catchy, I thought.
It definitely looked better than Harold Halibut, I thought.
I did not like the art style. I'm so done with stop motion drop frames and all this bullshit. Enough.
Well, this one is
also
trying to look like claymation style characters as well. But okay, so I'll just quickly mention a few things. So some of like sequels that I was excited for. Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement. Never finished the first Bloodstained game, but I feel like there was performance issues when it first came out and stuff. I don't know. High on Life 2. This was a trailer that looked cool, but really canned, kind of hard to tell what the gameplay was there.
We'll put it under S&M. Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah. Planet of Lana 2. Played the first one, liked it. This one kind of has another... the art style seems to have evolved a bit. So, and then Escape Academy 2. I mean, I didn't love the first one, but if they can kind of build on the first, and it seems like it's almost like The Witness inspired in terms of it's like an open world type thing, which sounds cool. What else? Lego Party, Mario Party, but with Lego. I'm interested. There was a weird game called Ball Pit. I don't know if you guys saw this. I think it was maybe at like Day of the Devs or something.
It was. Yeah.
It looks interesting. Like it looks like Arkanoid, but like times 1,000. Like just crazy. Like it's almost like a shoot 'em up mixed with Arkanoid. I don't know. Looks cool. Relooted seemed kind of cool. It's like a game where you have to steal back African artifacts that are in other museums, but it's kind of, it seems like, I think there's a bunch of different heist games, but this one seemed actually kind of actiony. Like it seemed like once you get in and grab the artifact, you're like running and dodging obstacles and stuff. Looked kind of cool. And I guess the last one I'll mention, which I have no idea, this could be really cool or it could be absolutely nothing. Big Walk. Did you guys see this?
No.
This may have been at Day of the Devs. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, this has been around before. It's got like that mild.
Yeah.
What's the game your kid loved, Sean?
Oh, yeah, right.
Bug snacks.
Yeah.
But you observe these weird creatures in the wild.
It's like from the people who did Untitled Goose Game, I think. But you're just kind of wandering around. It's like a co-op. It seems like almost like a massively multiplayer co-op. I'm not sure. And you're just kind of wandering around this island, and like it seemed to have all these different ways you could interact and things you could do, but it also felt like you could just walk around aimlessly for hours and do nothing too. So I don't know. It could be cool, but yeah, those were some of the other ones that stood out to me. Black Ops 7, anything to say on that?
No, the whole time I'm like, this looks like a Remedy game. It's gotta be. They're incorporating real actors and doing all this stuff. And I guess, is that where their way of saying the next Call of Duty game will kind of eschew from the rotating 3 types of things, and it's going to be another Black Ops game?
Yeah, I guess so. It's the first time.
I don't care. Meant nothing to me. I don't know if if their names mean stuff in Call of Duty lore. It was nothing to me. Nothing turd.
What about the return of Milo Ventimiglia?
Yeah, huge. Can't wait.
Is that the Heroes guy?
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's like, certainly doesn't sell me on anything. I thought Sean would have Sword of the Sea on his list. The new kind of...
Is that like the snowboarding
Journey-ish type game?
Yeah.
Seems like a hybrid of Journey and Abzu from the same developers, but I wasn't crazy about Pathless. The game, I thought it could have looked okay, but I have no idea what it is. I thought it was a terrible trailer showcasing what it could be. Tides of Tomorrow in the Sony State of Play. It's like you observe other people do heists, and it's like, I have no idea what this game is. I think they picked the wrong way to like showcase it to people. It's by the creators of Road 96. It was like this.
All right.
It's like Waterworld, but with with splashes of like color.
This was not the way to debut this game. I'm so confused and skeptical of what this could be. Pragmata, that Capcom game from the State of Play, seems to have come and gone with barely a whimper. I thought the Final Fantasy Tactics would be a bigger deal than it ended up being. I know.
Yeah. I feel like Pragmata we saw before. Did we not?
Yeah, I think we have, but it's been a while.
Okay. Yeah, I thought like the trailer they showed was almost the exact same trailer we saw before, or at least something very similar. But yeah, the Final Fantasy Tactics, I played that game. I liked it back in the day, but now those sort of like turn-based games are a little too slow for me, the turn-based strategy games. And I do know that in this one, they did announce that the new version will have like fast-forward time to speed up battles, which is a nice quality of life feature that I would be interested in taking advantage of. I know in the like pixel remaster games, I always use the like auto battle feature to try to speed it up to go faster. And it makes the game much more enjoyable because a lot of that is just grinding. It's the same with like these turn-based games. You're basically just waiting for the computer or the AI, whatever, to play out their turns. And it always takes so long to watch all the animations. And you can sometimes like turn off the animations to try to make it go fast, but they still take a long time to go between each character. So that was always like every battle's like an hour long. And I just don't have that much time to sit and wait for an hour. You know, if I could jump in and do like, 5 minutes and then maybe save the state of the battle and then come back. Okay, that's something I'd be interested in maybe trying again, and maybe the battles only take half an hour instead of an hour. Okay, that's maybe a time window I can deal with, but sitting for an hour is a rare luxury for me now to play games. So
yeah, those games are definitely a time commitment.
Yeah. It's like it's like all the new Fire Emblem games. I want to try them. I want to like them, but they're just so big time commitments that I just can't get into them.
Yeah, I thought the Beast of Reincarnation we mentioned before was a 3D action game in the Xbox showcase that looked good. Kind of intrigued while also rolling my eyes at that there are no ghosts in the Grand. This kind of weird.
Yeah, that actually kind of interesting.
I just thought of a game that I thought was going to be on your list, Frank, that was not. Neo 3.
Yeah. I mean, Rise of the Ronin, I played a lot of, and I'm not necessarily still in love with the combat of that series. I've just done so much of it. Yeah. I'm curious to see how the open world aspect kind of reinvents or attempts to reinvent some of that stuff. So I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong, but nothing where it was on my top 10 list or anything like that. I mean, the other game that I thought could have been cool, but was a bit of a dud, and especially considering something else that happened this week that we'll talk about shortly was Blood of the Dawn Walker, like an RPG from Bandai Namco in the Xbox showcase that just feels like shitty Witcher at this point, and especially some of the Witcher 4 tech demo stuff that people were talking about. I'm like, I'd rather play Witcher 3, but thought that was a bit of a dud. I thought
Huck might have Resonance of Plague Tale on his list.
Yeah, that one was bizarre. I don't know what the tie-in there is.
Like, does that light? There was like a rope light leading everything that felt supposed to be significant, and I have no idea what it means.
Yeah, it's weird because that game takes place in, I don't know, like the 1200s or something like that. So like, why is there this like LED strip running along the ground? Yeah, I don't know. I found that trailer a little bizarre and a little disjointed. I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. So
it says it's a prequel to the other games.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm looking back at it right now. Like it looks very medieval, but then there's this.
I mean, even the title, Resonance: A Plague Tale, clearly is all of this indicates, well, not that many people played the first two. How can we kind of tie into those, but kind of restart as something that might have more mass appeal than, dealing with rats during the plague and make it, a mass appeal third person game?
It almost looks like, I mean, when I'm rewatching it now, and it's reminding me that it almost looks like it's going into like the labyrinth with the Minotaur, and maybe like there's going to be some Greek myth tie-in of like going in here and killing this Minotaur. Maybe the Minotaur was like protecting the rats or something, and then it unleashes it or something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it's weird. It was a weird one, especially with that lighting, that light strip.
How can we convert the Plague Tale series into a little bit of God of War angle?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Could have been a thing. I was disappointed.
Yeah, they showed like the Colosseum and stuff, or like something like the Colosseum as well. So obviously leaning more to the combat aspect than just avoiding rats. So strange.
Disappointed by the Great Circle DLC announcement, Order of the Giants. I thought they had teased it was going to be like Last Crusade or something like that in the deluxe edition stuff. So, and I think clearly not free on Game Pass. Even if you have it on Game Pass, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, which seems to be how they do DLC for their Game Pass games.
I thought Sean might be somewhat interested in Luminous Arise, which is by the Tetris Effect.
I think it's just cool that it's been a very long time since they've had a Luminous game. Luminous or Lumines?
I have no idea. But that's kind of it for me. I don't disagree with what Sean said earlier, that I didn't think any of the showcases were bad. I just wasn't like super jacked about anything. There was tons of stuff I could see myself playing and liking. New announcements, not a ton of like things I've seen 20 times already. So they were all around B- to B+ range for me, the three major ones.
Yeah, I just found something. So YouTube just fed me up a video that I did not see for a game. Did either of you guys hear about this? The Expanse Osiris Reborn. Apparently it came out yesterday. Did you guys hear about this game?
Maybe at the Future Games showcase?
No, I haven't heard
something about it.
I think I've heard about it in the past.
So, I mean, I really like the Expanse book series and the show. I haven't watched all the show, but I'm trying to like read the books first and then watch the show. And this looks pretty awesome.
Oh, no,
this looks right up.
Yeah.
This looks right up my alley. Like third person cover-based shooter, sci-fi, says action RPG. This sounds pretty awesome.
Oh,
I'm surprised I didn't see it.
When I heard about it, for some reason I thought it was more just like a narrative game. Was there like a Telltale Expanse game or something?
There was, but I think that came out already and it's been out for a while.
Yeah, I guess I just had that in my head and thought it was more of that, but yeah, that sounds interesting.
Well, this may just bump right up to my number one. Who knows?
What about the Wu-Tang game? Wu-Tang Rise of the Deceiver. You guys excited?
No.
Wasn't there another Marvel beat 'em up game that was announced, like Cosmic Collective or something?
Cosmic
it's been announced
Invasion.
A while ago.
Yeah,
okay.
It was previously announced. It is the same. Like the people that are doing Scott Pilgrim are also doing this.
Oh,
really? They did Shredder's Revenge too, but they've got 2 games coming out in the near future. Speaking of which, Obsidian has Outer Worlds 2 coming out later this year. That was shown at the Xbox Showcase. There was a whole deep dive thing, which I did not watch, although I'm kind of interested in it. And then they also announced Grounded 2. So they have 3 games, plus Avowed, which already came out this year, which is pretty crazy.
It is not a good sign as a publisher if your marquee developer is Obsidian. That's all I'll say. Not that they make bad games by any means, but I mean, clearly absent any new Gears of War, any new Halo, any major franchise. I'm glad you brought this up, Sean, because I just wanted to mention a little quote from the Xbox Showcase that if you read into it, it makes a lot of sense. Shipping our most played games ever as a publisher. Of course you are, because you're putting them on PlayStation now. That's why they're the most played they've ever been. So thank you for acknowledging that without naming Sony specifically in your direct, but that's true. More people than ever are playing your games thanks to the huge install base and console wars victory of the PlayStation 5. and you bending the knee and succumbing to their dominance in the video game industry.
What about Ninja Gaiden 4? Any thoughts on that?
Been announced, I'm pretty sure, right? Like it was just
it had been announced. I don't know if we saw much from it.
I think it looks really good. I'm excited for it for sure. Could have been, again around my 11 or 12. Definitely.
A couple things that were absent. Well, one was there a little bit, which was Silk Song. They had a strange mention of that with the Rog Ally announcement, saying that it will be out when the Rog Ally launches. But it's such a weird.
No, so I shouldn't hold my breath. Maybe I should just buy the regular Rog Ally. Is what you're saying?
Well, no, I think did they not give a date
later this year? But every piece of teasing thing is the same shot of this green corridor and the character bouncing through it. I mean, I'm so fucking sick of hearing about Silk Song. This better be the best fucking game ever made, because Hollow Knight's already overrated, and this has got a lot of stuff to live up to.
Yeah, we have the Three Stooges Award on the Junkies for Film Junk of the movies we're sick of hearing about that haven't even started production yet. And I mean, obviously Hollow Knight's in production, but
to be fair, it pales in comparison to Little Devil Inside, which collapsed.
Yeah, but at least we haven't heard about that game.
It showed up a couple years ago.
Oh, it's like Star Citizen also. It's like hanging out, just never to be completed.
But that game is so popular, they would be absolutely, unless they're getting thrown cash at them to include it in a showcase, to monetize it themselves or do their own stream and do something on their own. It makes no sense to not just have something yourself in today's day and age than to give it to Xbox or Sony if they're not going to give you money.
Yeah. Replaced was not at the Xbox showcase.
I didn't think about that until now.
Making an appearance. Also, no Fable, no Perfect Dark.
Well, Phil did mention Fable, that in the anniversary of the Xbox next year that you'll have new Fable and something else. But I mean, there's lots of games from the past 4 years of these showcases that just disappear.
Just go radio silent. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I guess Arc Raiders. I was excited that it got pulled into the Summer Game Fest, but showed no gameplay, if I'm incorrect. Or if I'm correct, it was just like cinematic footage, and it comes out this October, which I thought was very strange.
Yeah, I think they've been doing like some kind of beta or something, because I've few podcasts I've listened to have talked about playing it. It's getting some buzz, but yeah, they didn't really show much.
Because I remember having that on a list 4 years ago or something like that, and there's so many games that have just gone into the ether so they get content for these showcases, and that's also why I'm less excited when I see these things now. These dates mean nothing. The footage isn't indicative of final gameplay. It's total S&M fest, dude. Enough of this shit. You show me some games. That's what Sony used to be the best at, and I think like their showcase did not have a ton of amazing stuff, but at least it felt like real games to some degree. But whatever. Okay, I'm done with the showcases. Do we want to give letter grades quickly before we talk State of Unreal, which Huck wants to touch on?
Sure.
I would have included Witcher 4, but we had a little discussion ahead of time, and that's big time S&M. Okay, State of Play. Star rating.
Letter rating?
Yeah. Or did I say star rating? Jeez. Okay, sorry.
I'll give it an A-.
Okay, I will give it a B.
I could also give it a B, even though I barely watched it.
Xbox Showcase?
B.
I will give it a B-.
B- as well.
Summer Game Fest?
B+.
I will give it a B.
I'm going to give it a B+.
So not bad. They were all interesting in their own ways, had cool announcements, but just nothing was getting my needle moving for the most part. And that's probably more of a statement about me than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I do find almost all of these. I watch these showcases and I just start to think maybe I'm not in touch with what people like these days. So,
yeah,
I mean,
maybe
one
I'm
thing
finally growing up and I'm not going to play video games anymore. That would be insane.
Not really any sort of like hero shooters or big like MOBA-esque games showing, or any sort of like online arena battler, or what do they call the King of the Hill game or whatever it's called, the Battle Royale. Yeah. So
yeah, there was like a couple, like there was that Thick as Thieves, which isn't exactly that, there's a couple things, but I think you're right. Like, I almost feel like Concord has sent a bit of a message through the industry.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
shock and awe.
That's a good observation, especially after the success of Helldivers 2 and all this stuff. I was expecting a bunch of clones, and nope, it's more third-person action games, which I asked for them. I have to bear the impact of regret on this one.
You know, one thing that obviously all the trailer makers across the world have been listening to Game Junk on, they didn't put any people doing stupid voiceover over top of their games like they're playing them at the time, and they're telling their buddies what to do along with them, which was a big perk, because that always rubs me the wrong way every time I see that.
Yeah, for sure. Still not enough games. I say it every year. Put the title of your game first, not at the end.
Yes,
I want to know what I'm watching and make associations. Mind boggled by this decision.
Yeah, I liked it when
I want to know the title of this game.
On the so Summer Game Fest YouTube video I watched had the titles in the like timestamps, so that was nice. Sony tried to do it, failed miserably.
Yeah,
only about 50%. Only about 50% correct. And Xbox had nothing. So big fail on Microsoft. Probably should have given them a minus an entire letter grade just for that fact.
Yeah, how can you not put timestamps in your own video? Correct?
I know. Well, they're trying to make it surprise.
Brutal. Yeah. Okay.
It's the most recent one. Maybe they just hadn't got around to it yet.
It's been 4 days since State of Play, Sean. When I
no, you said the Xbox one didn't have.
Yeah, no, State of Play was the one that was a fail.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Oh,
like 4 days later, embarrassing. Truly. Okay, Huck, you want to touch on State of Unreal? I did not watch.
Yeah, so they stayed Unreal or Epic had I don't know, about an hour and a half kind of presentation about sort of like new stuff they're having and what they've been working on in the newest version of Unreal Engine, which is 5.6. And the big thing is this Witcher 4 tech demo that Epic and CD Projekt Red worked together on. And they were sort of emphasizing, a few big things that Unreal Engine is bringing to 5.6 that is in this demo. There was foliage. They talked about how now when you zoom out, you used to have to like render like every little leaf, and then as you zoomed out, you tried to like make it as performant as possible. But when you have so much geometry and stuff, it's hard. And they've changed how they're doing it now, and it's now almost like a voxel based, which is I believe they just kind of sample the color, make it a box, and then just have it be that color so that from far away it still sort of resembles the tree in the terms of the aspect of what color it is and everything like that. And rendering a square is much faster than crazy geo. And they also talked about the AI in the town of The Witcher that they showed and how everyone was reacting. Now this was where I was warning Frank that there's some smoke and mirrors, I think, definitely going on here. And, if they can actually pull games off that have this level of interactivity with the NPCs around, I mean, that'll be incredible. But this is a very small area, and it probably took them a couple months to do this thing. So how do you then expand this out to multiple areas with unique things happening all the time. I think this area was not maybe as dynamic as they made it out to be. I'm sure it was very bespoke. The path the character takes in the demo looked very planned out. You know, we've all done these smoke and mirror demos where, okay, you go this way, do not turn your camera to the right. Whatever you do, do not turn your camera to the right because there's nothing over there. And, you know, that, so, I mean, it looked really incredible, but I don't know how scalable that sort of tech is to do these sort of like bespoke animation and responses. Like if you bump into a guy, I know like, you know, Assassin's Creed is kind of famous for if you bump into someone, they kind of react to you, but it's still pretty generic. They don't, you know, ask for things or, you know, drops whatever they're carrying and then start trying to pick it up in any sort of like specific way to what they're carrying, which is kind of what they're implying with this tech demo.
These like interactive AI world interaction stuff, are they using AI to like generate responses and stuff like that, like an AI engine, or do they say how they achieve this stuff?
They didn't say how. I don't think so. And then they showed like some neat animation stuff where, you know, Frank was talking about the rippling horse muscles, which looks cool. I mean, it makes them look very realistic. Now in a game, how often are you know, pulling the camera around and zooming in on the horse's muscles as you are running in the world? I mean,
constantly.
I bet Red Dead 2 does this or something like this, or they animated something like this to make their horses look so good. But constantly, yeah. Especially imagine if you were riding a giraffe, Frank. Man, you zoom in on that thing all the time. But they also talk about getting on the horse and then riding with the horse, and there's all these like new technique. It's called motion matching, where you can basically have a huge library of potential animations and it'll interpolate and kind of decide what is the best, even if it doesn't have the exact animation in its library. And they were talking about how you can kind of approach this horse from any direction and get on it. And then also while you're riding it, it'll perform this motion matching thing with both characters, which I don't think was possible before. It was only a one character thing. Assassin's Creed, like Ubisoft really like pioneered this technology probably like 10 years ago with Assassin's Creed and their climbing and how you approach a wall. There's like a lot of papers about it, but some pretty neat stuff. And all that, those are all my notes from like the Witcher 4 demo specifically. I don't know if you guys have any more thoughts on the Witcher 4 tech demo other than that.
No, I thought it just a very high level observation. It felt and looked like a Witcher game. I know I can get hung up on things looking like Unreal games, like Clair Obscur, when they're using provided packages and established lighting systems and all that stuff and built-in asset generation. And I thought, well, they've taken their aesthetic and applied it pretty well to this demo and felt unique.
Yeah, I guess my question is always like, I mean, you said they're not using AI for this stuff, or at least they didn't specifically say that.
They didn't specifically say it. They talk a bit about AI later on in the presentation, but they didn't. I don't recall them saying specifically about this that they were using AI to generate responses to what the player does.
Yeah, because I know there was like a big thing about Microsoft putting out like an AI library for game development, and like we're kind of moving towards that where it's like, okay, all the little nitty gritty things you don't want to have to think about, we'll just let AI take care of that. But like, I mean, that it gets to a really weird place where it's like now you're just letting AI decide all this stuff for your game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends. Like I use AI a lot in my job to debug things. So if I have like a specific area I know the bug might exist in, like let's say it was something related to shadows or something like that, I could just ask, you know, one of the AI bots, hey, an Unreal Engine specific version, what are the possible reasons why the shadows might be doing this in a level? And it'll spit me out 6-7 different areas to look at in the code, not in the code, like, or in the settings or anything of how to debug what could be causing this. Now, back in the day, if I were to try to debug this, I would literally spend days either talking to people or going through the code and trying to like line by line figure out what the hell could be causing this shadow thing. And all of a sudden the AI automatically gives me like 7 ideas of what to look for and things to try to figure out what the problem is. So like I use it in that way. Also, if I want to generate some code that I know is like pretty straightforward, but I don't want to make a mistake necessarily, I'll just ask it to say, hey, generate me some code to do this or whatever. And then, you know, it'll pump something out and I'll step through it after to make sure it's correct. But it's just a way to offload some of the easier stuff that I don't really want to think about. Or I could ask like, hey, if I'm using these functions, what headers do I have to include? This is all super nerdy shit that no one really cares about, but like these are the kind of things I'm using it for. It's all dumb stuff that, you know, I could spend 5 minutes figuring it out myself by diving into all the different headers and figure out where these files live, or I could just ask the AI and it'll just tell me. And I would say, you know, 95% of the time it's right. So why would I waste that time to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think too many people are going to debate the use of it for coding other than the fact that, you know, hey, maybe that's going to steal your job down the road or something. But like,
I don't think so, but
yeah, I
think
don't
it's just
think so either,
enhancing it.
But like it's just more of the debate is happening on the creative side where it's like, okay, now you're going to let the AI make potentially creative choices for you. And maybe they're going to be good choices and maybe they aren't. And maybe it's not what you wanted. But
I mean, if I think it would be making creative choices around like dialogue and other stuff that definitely falls flat in most games and is typically writers. If it's not the AI doing it themselves, it would be writers using AI to generate choices.
I mean, like it's interesting you went to dialogue. I would think that would be a huge one that people would not want to give to AI. Like, you know, stuff like, you know, how does a character react when you bump into them or something like that? I could see, but like
dialogue in games absolutely blows across the board.
But there are games that do it well and they put the effort into it, right? Like it's, I don't know. I guess it depends too. Like there is the asset creation.
Like there is asset creation aspect to the AI thing. And I mean, where do you draw the line? Like if I have a chair in my house and if I get the super high quality camera rig and lighting and take pictures of it in like a 3D crazy PBR studio thing and then bring that into the game, or if I take a couple pictures of it and feed it into an AI and say, hey, generate me this chair in 3D, like what's the difference there? In my mind, it's all the time I wasted taking all those pictures myself and generating it and texturing it myself, whereas the AI does exactly what I did, just sped up. Now, there is like the creative aspect of it. Like, is it really taking my image, or is it taking the images it learned from other people and other people's stuff and then incorporating that? I understand that is definitely like
morphing it into your chair kind of
thing.
thing.
That is a little bit of a gray area for sure, where it starts like stealing other people's art. And I guess the other big thing that came out, I think this week was maybe last week, about how they integrated a chatbot in the Fortnite with the Star Wars thing they're doing, and you could talk to Vader and Vader would respond to you, and it would like actually give you a chatbot response. And in why am I blanking on his name?
James Earl Jones?
James Earl Jones' voice. So people were kind of up in arms about that, and like, is that taking away, creative rights and all this stuff? And that's another gray area right now that is kind of interesting. I think James Earl Jones gave up his likeness, like, and said, please keep using it for Vader in particular. So I think there is keep
using it for compensation for my family.
Yeah, his family signed off on it and they're getting paid. Yeah.
Wasn't I want,
but I mean, they're not just.
I want money, which I agree.
They're not like just making Yeah, they're not just making a digital facsimile of James Earl Jones's voice and then not paying the company, right? Or the family.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I mean,
I think we're beyond the limits of summer game season at this point. So, gonna wrap it up. I will say, Nintendo Switch 2. More details to follow. Not sure when exactly at this point. I will just say, the Mario Kart World 90 Metacritic is absolute insanity. Not a lot of major publishers weighing in at this point, but that might be the most insane example of benefit of the doubt to Nintendo and like non-professional reviewers overhyping games. That number is ridiculous. And I talked about this a bit with Player Obscure and some other games this year. It's out of control. We got to get these review numbers in accurate territory, for the love of God. This is ridiculous. And Sean knows I'm right on this one.
I do agree with you on this one. Yes.
Okay. All right. YouTube.com/Game Junk. Discord links there as well. Maybe some gems, some hidden gems we missed in these showcases. Let us know in the comments. Thank you for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.